The lights went out at 7:43, not all of them. Just the main stage. Just the runway. Just the 300 watts of carefully angled LED that separated Amara Bello's entire future from public humiliation on the biggest night of the Lagos Fashion Week calendar. She was standing backstage in a white jumpsuit with a headset around her neck and 12 models in various states of dress when her production manager found her. Amara. Dare's voice had the specific quality of someone delivering information they wished they could hand to someone else. The venue just killed our power. What? Debt call. Someone flagged an outstanding invoice from last year's event, 42 million naira. Management says they don't restore power until it's paid. The models were looking at her. Her team was looking at her. The audience on the other side of the curtain was already shifting, the restless murmur of 300 people who had arrived expecting something and were beginning to sense it wasn't coming. Long have we had to pay that invoice, she said. 8 months, Dare said. She closed her eyes for exactly 2 seconds. This was her system, 2 seconds no more to feel the full weight of the disaster. Then open them and work. She opened them. Me Segun, she said. Get me the venue manager. Get me, Miss Bello. Voice came from behind her, Korean accent, precise English. The specific, unhurried quality of someone who had never once in their life needed to raise their voice to be heard. She turned. He was standing at the edge of the backstage corridor like he had always been there, dark suit, no tie, the particular stillness of a man who watched situations instead of reacting to them. Tall, jaw like a decision. Eyes that moved across the chaos around her with the calm, assessing quality of someone taking inventory. She had seen his photograph. Every Nigerian business editor had run it in the last 6 months. Kang Min-Jae, CEO of KM Global, arrives in Lagos for unspecified acquisition meetings. Cold, brilliant, ruthless. The man who had acquired 17 struggling companies in 4 years and turned 3 of them profitable while dismantling the rest for parts. The man her mother had warned her about from her hospital bed 3 years ago with tubes in her arm and words that cost her breath. Min-Jae will come back one day. He always comes back. Do not let him near this company, Amara. Promise me, she had promised. Mr. Kang, she said, her voice was completely steady. This is a restricted area. I know, he said, I'll be brief. He held something out, a phone screen, a transfer confirmation. The invoice has been paid. She looked at the screen, 42 million naira, transferred 4 minutes ago. Recipient, Lagos Event Venue Management. Status, confirmed. She looked at him. You paid my venue fees, she said. The venue has confirmed your power will be restored in 2 minutes, he said. You should get your models ready. I didn't ask you to do that. He said, you didn't. I don't want your money. It's not my money, he said. It's a business investment. I want to discuss acquiring a minority stake in Bello Fashion House. Tonight was not the appropriate time to approach you. Tomorrow morning at... No, she said. He looked at her. Answer is no, she said. To the acquisition, to the stake, to whatever you came to Lagos to do to my mother's company, the answer is no. Lights came back on. The audience beyond the curtain responded with applause. Min-Jae looked at the lights, then at her. Tomorrow morning, he said. 9 o'clock, I'll send the address. He walked away. She stood backstage with her models and her team and the lights blazing above her and the specific cold rage of a woman who had just been helped by the person she most needed to refuse and could not afford to give the help back. She fixed her headset. Models in position, she said. We're opening in 3. She did not look back. She did not need to see his face to know he was still watching. He was always watching. The show was extraordinary. 300 people on their feet for the finale. Photographs everywhere. The kind of night that reminded Lagos why her mother had built something worth fighting for, the colors, the structure, the specific, joyful intelligence of a collection that understood Nigerian women as they actually were rather than as the international market imagined them. Amara smiled for cameras for 40 minutes. Then she found a quiet corner near the venue's service exit and stood in the dark alone and let herself feel the actual weight of the evening, not the triumph. The 42 million naira. She had 42 million naira worth of debt she hadn't known about that a Korean billionaire she had never met had paid without being asked. Which meant he had known about it before she did. Which meant he had been watching her finances. Which meant, you're going to overthink yourself into the wrong conclusion. She turned, a woman she didn't recognize, mid-50s, Nigerian, well-dressed with the specific comfortable authority of someone who moved through rooms without needing permission. Ademi, Dare said, appearing at Amara's elbow. She's been asking to speak with you all evening. Ademi, Amara said, you worked with my mother. For 15 years, the woman said. I was her financial advisor before. She paused. I need to show you something, not here, tomorrow. About what? The woman looked at her for a moment. About who has been keeping this company alive for the last 3 years, she said, and then her phone rang and she looked at the screen and something in her face changed. Have to take this, she said. Tomorrow, please. She walked away. Amara stood in the dark corner of the venue exit and thought about 42 million naira and a Korean billionaire and a dead mother's warning. She thought, I need to know who paid that invoice before he arrived. She thought, I need to know what he knew. She did not yet think, could not yet have known to think that these two questions had the same answer, and that the answer would dismantle everything she believed. One question. That's all it takes to destroy 7 years of carefully constructed silence. Subscribe right now because Chapter 2 is where the real story begins. And I promise you, you are not ready. She did not go to his meeting at 9 o'clock. She went at 11 because arriving 2 hours late to a billionaire's scheduled meeting was the smallest act of resistance available to her, and she was a woman who took what she could get. The address was a private floor of a hotel in Victoria Island. His assistant, Korean, efficient with the polished calm of someone paid to absorb people's hostility, showed her in without comment. Min-Jae was standing at the window. He turned when she entered. Late, he said. You paid my venue fees without my permission, she said. We're even. Something moved in his expression, not a smile exactly, a recognition. Down, he said. I'll stand, she said. He looked at her for a moment. Then he sat down himself, which rearranged the power dynamic in a way she hadn't expected. He opened a folder on the table. Bello Fashion House, he said. Founded 2003 by your mother, Adiz Bello. Built to a $30 million valuation by 2018 before, he paused. Before her illness. Current valuation, approximately 4 million, though this number is artificial. The actual liability is. I know my company's financials, she said. Do you? He looked up. Then you know that the Abuja lawsuit was settled out of court for 18 million naira last year. You know that the Lagos design theft case in 2022 was resolved when someone bought back the stolen IP for 26 million. You know that 3 criminal investors who were preparing to file fraudulent claims against the company in 2021 withdrew those claims after their own financial situations became complicated. She stared at him. She had known about the lawsuit. She had known about the design theft. She had tried to buy back the IP herself and been told it had already been purchased anonymously. She had not known about the criminal investors. She had not known the word complicated. Who told you all of this? She said. I didn't need to be told, he said. I was there. Room was very quiet. You were there, she repeated. Physically, he said. Financially. The Abuja settlement was funded through a shell account. The design IP was purchased by a proxy company registered in Singapore. The criminal investors, he stopped. Their situations were resolved through other means. She looked at him. She thought about her mother's warning, he always comes back. Why, she said. He held her gaze. That's a longer conversation than we have time for today, he said. Make time, she said. He looked at the folder. Your company has a new problem, he said. More immediate. There's a design collection, your spring 2024 line, which you haven't shown publicly yet, that someone has already filed partial registration for in 3 separate markets. Lagos, London, Dubai. She felt the blood leave her face. That's impossible, she said. That collection hasn't left my studio. Someone photographed it, he said. Detailed technical drawings, fabric specifications, every piece in the collection. She thought about who had access to her studio. She thought about Tund, her business partner, her mother's former protégé, the man who had been helping her manage the company since her mother died. She thought, no, she thought he wouldn't. I need you to consider, Min-Jae said carefully, that someone close to you is working against you. I need you, she said, to tell me why you've been secretly funding my company for 3 years without telling me. He held her gaze. He opened his mouth. His phone buzzed on the table between them. He looked at the screen. Something in his face changed, barely, almost invisibly, but she was watching closely enough to see it. Have to take this, he said. I'll come to your studio at. No, she said. Finish the sentence you were about to say. Why have you been funding my company? Why did my mother warn me about you? How did you know her? Your mother. He stopped, looked at the phone, back at her. The conflict in his face was the most human thing she had seen on him. Amara. I will tell you everything, but I need to take this call. Tomorrow I'll come to. She stood up. Bother, she said. Amara, she walked out. She took the elevator down and stood in the hotel lobby and thought about the spring 2024 collection, every piece of it, months of work, her most personal collection, the one she had built for her mother's memory, filed in 3 markets by someone who had been in her studio. Her phone buzzed. Tund. Hey, how did the Kang meeting go? Don't let him manipulate you. Call me when you're done. She stared at the message. She thought, how did he know I was meeting Kang? She had told no one. She texted back, fine, talk later. She walked out of the hotel into the Lagos afternoon and thought about a man sitting on a hotel floor with a folder full of secrets and a phone call that was more important than finishing his sentence. She thought, he knows something he's not telling me. She thought, everyone knows something they're not telling me. She thought, I need to find Mrs. Ademi. She did not yet understand that Mrs. Ademi had already tried to find her, twice, that morning, before a car had run her off the road on the Lekki Expressway. and she had been taken to hospital with a fractured wrist, and a very clear understanding of what happened to people who talked too much about certain things. Mrs. Ademi called from the hospital. Amara arrived with flowers she hadn't planned to bring and found the woman sitting up in a private room with her wrist in a cast, and the specific, careful energy of someone measuring how much to say. "Who did this to you?" Amara said. "A driver who wasn't paying attention," Mrs. Ademi said in the tone of someone who absolutely did not believe this. "Ademi, sit down, my dear." The woman looked at the door, then at Amara. "What I'm going to tell you I should have told you 2 years ago. I was afraid, I am still afraid, but if something happens to me—" "Nothing is going to. If something happens," the woman said firmly, "you need to know this." Amara sat. "Your mother," Mrs. Ademi said, "did not die cleanly." Room was very quiet. "What does that mean?" Amara said. "Her illness was real, but the speed of it, the specific complications, there are doctors who believe she was helped toward the end, accelerated." The woman watched Amara's face. "I don't have proof. I never had enough proof, but your mother believed it too. In her last weeks she was trying to document something. A financial conspiracy connected to her company, investors who wanted Bello Fashion House not for its value but for what it concealed." "What did it conceal?" Amara said. "She never finished telling me," Mrs. Ademi said. "But Min-Jae knows." Amara went still. "Kang Min-Jae," she said. "He was with your mother in Seoul in 2015, Mrs. Ademi said. "When she was doing the international expansion, something happened there, I don't know the details, but she trusted him with something, and when she came back she changed, the company changed direction, and 2 years later when certain investors began moving against her, she paused. Min-Jae began moving between them, silently. He's been protecting the company," Amara said. "He's been protecting you," Mrs. Ademi said. "There's a difference, the company is how he does it." "But it was never about the company." Door opened, a nurse came in with medication. Mrs. Ademi accepted it and swallowed and looked at Amara with the eyes of someone deciding whether to say the last thing. "Your mother left something for you," she said. "A recording. She gave it to Min-Jae for safekeeping because she didn't trust that her Lagos house was secure. He has it." "Has a recording my mother made for me," Amara said. She was dying, Amara. She needed someone she trusted absolutely to hold it until. "Until what?" Amara said. "Until I figured out he was trustworthy, until I stopped hatting him. She knew I would hate him. She told me to stay away from him. Why would she give him something meant for me?" Mrs. Ademi was quiet for a moment. "She said," the woman said slowly, "that you would not be ready to hear it until you had been through enough to understand it." Amara stood up. "Need that recording," she said. "I know," Mrs. Ademi said. "Go carefully." Amara walked out of the hospital into the Lagos afternoon. She called Min-Jae's number. It rang. It went to voicemail. She drove to the hotel. His floor told her he had checked out that morning. He was gone. He was in Seoul. She found this out through his assistant, who was professionally apologetic and entirely unhelpful, and through a business journalist who had published a brief note about KM Global's CEO returning for emergency board meetings. She booked a flight. She did not think about whether this was rational. She thought about a recording her mother had made, sitting in the hands of a man who kept leaving before finishing sentences. She arrived in Seoul on a Tuesday. She had his office address because it was public record. She had a visitor badge because his assistant, surprised into cooperation by her physical presence in the lobby, had apparently decided that processing her was easier than refusing her. He was on the phone when she walked in. He looked up. He ended the call. "You came to Seoul," he said. "You have something that belongs to me," she said. He held her gaze. "Sit down," he said. "Tell me about the recording," she said. He stood up. He walked to the window, the Seoul skyline behind him, the Han River somewhere in the grey distance. "Before I explain the recording," he said, "I need you to understand the context. Without the context, the recording will. Just give it to me," she said. "Amara," he turned. "Your mother made me promise not to give it to you until I had told you the truth myself." Her words, she was very specific. She said, "If I handed you the recording without explanation, you would hear it wrong." She stared at him. "She knew you," he said. "She knew you would receive information with walls up. She wanted you to hear her voice after you already understood." He held her gaze. "So let me explain first." She sat down. He sat across from her. "In 2015, he said, your mother came to Seoul for the Bello international expansion. She was trying to open the Asian market. A Korean investor group expressed interest, legitimate on the surface, criminal underneath. They were not interested in fashion. They were interested in the money laundering infrastructure that a luxury brand's cash flow could provide." She held still. "Your mother figured this out," he said. "Not immediately, it took her 6 months. By the time she understood what she had walked into, she was too deeply connected to simply walk away. They had her signature on documents that could be reinterpreted. She came to me because she had heard I was someone who dealt with this kind of problem." "Dealt with it how?" she said. He held her gaze. The way problems like this get dealt with in this world, he said. She understood. So you helped her, she said. I helped her extract herself, he said. Cleanly, the investors were discouraged. The documents were removed from their possession. She was free. He paused, but they knew her name, they knew the company, and they were patient people. They came for her later, Amara said. Immediately, he said. But yes, eventually. In ways that were difficult to prove and impossible to fight openly. You watched, he said, and intervened when I could, quietly. Because anything visible would have made her a target. She looked at him, she thought about the Abuja settlement, the design IP, the criminal investors whose situations had become complicated. She thought about 7 years of invisible hands between her and disaster. Why, she said, she was one woman you helped once in Seoul. Why 7 years of? Because she asked me, he said it simply, without performance. Before she died, he said, she called me. She told me what she suspected about her illness. She told me about you, about the company, about the enemies circling it, about what would happen when she was gone. He held Amara's gaze. She asked me to protect you until you were safe. Room was very quiet. Amara heard her own breathing. She asked you, she said, and then she told me to stay away from you. He said, why would she? His phone lit up on the desk. He glanced at it. His expression changed. I need to, he stood. This is the board situation, it cannot wait. Amara, stay here, I'll be back in 20 minutes and I'll tell you everything. You said that in Lagos, she said, before you took a call and disappeared. I know, he said, this time I'm asking you to wait. He walked out. She sat in his office in Seoul. She looked at his desk. She looked at the drawer beside his laptop. She thought, the recording is here. It has to be. She stood up. She crossed to the desk. She opened the drawer of files, a passport, a slim black phone that wasn't his regular device, and an envelope, her name on the front, her mother's handwriting. She picked it up. It was not a recording. It was a letter thick with pages, sealed with tape, the paper slightly yellowed at the edges from age. She had it in her hand when she heard him come back. She turned. He saw the envelope. He stopped. She saw his face. She saw in the 2 seconds before he managed his expression something she had not expected to see on Kang Min-Jae's face. Fear, not for himself, for her. That's not the recording, he said. I know, she said. It's a letter. Amara, he said. The letter requires context, she said. Yes, he said. She looked at the envelope. She looked at him. She put it back in the drawer. Then talk, she said. No phone calls, no board emergencies. Talk. He sat down. He opened his mouth. The door opened. His deputy, a young Korean man who had the specific, panicked energy of someone carrying a genuine emergency, came in without knocking. Sir, he said in Korean. The Hong Kong situation has escalated. If we don't move in the next hour, we lose the entire position. Min-Jae looked at Amara. She looked at him. She picked up her bag. I'm staying in Seoul, she said. I'm not leaving until I hear everything. She walked out. The damage was worse than Min-Jae had described. She confirmed it herself sitting in a Seoul cafe with her laptop. Her Spring 2024 collection, 18 pieces, registered in 3 markets under a company called Olu Style Limited. Lagos registration. Nigerian director. She ran the director's name. Olusegun Adekoya, Tun's father. She sat very still. She called Tund. He answered on the second ring, warm and concerned, and she listened to his voice and thought about all the times she had called him after difficult meetings, after failed investments, after the nights her mother's company felt like it was falling through her fingers. Amara, he said, I've been worried. How is Seoul? Tund, she said, tell me about Olu Style Limited. Silence, 2 seconds, 3. I don't know what that is, he said. It's registered to your father, she said. That's a pause. That must be a coincidence. My father has several business interests I'm not involved in. You know I keep my family and... My spring collection is filed under that company, she said. That's impossible, he said. Amara, listen to me. Min-Jae has people who plant false information. He's manipulating you. I pulled the registration myself, she said. From the official Lagos registry, your father's name, your father's NIN, not planted, filed. Warmth in his voice changed. Just slightly, just enough. Come home, he said. We can sort this out face to face. Don't make decisions in Seoul under that man's influence. She ended the call. She sat in the cafe in Seoul and thought about how many times Tund had warned her about Min-Jae. How specific those warnings had been. How well-timed, arriving exactly when she was close to something, exactly when she was beginning to ask the right questions, she thought. He was redirecting me, she thought, every time. Her phone buzzed. A message from a number she didn't recognize. Your mother's other letter is not in Seoul. Check the old Bello warehouse on Lagos Island. She left something there for you before she died. A friend. She stared at the message. She thought, this could be a trap. She thought, everything could be a trap. She thought, or it could be the one thing I've been looking for. She looked up Min-Jae's floor. She went back. He was alone this time. She walked in without knocking. He looked up. Know about Tund, she said. Something moved in his face. Long have you known, she said. Since last year, he said. She stared at him. Known for a year that my business partner was stealing from me, she said, and you said nothing. I was building a case, he said. If I moved too early, you said nothing, she said. Amara, you let him continue stealing from me for a year while you built a case, she said. While I trusted him, while I defended him against people who tried to warn me. She stopped. Do you understand what that cost me? Do you understand what it costs a woman to trust the wrong person for a year when she's trying to hold together her dead mother's company? He held her gaze, he did not look away. Yes, he said, I understand. Then why, she said. Because if I had told you without evidence, he said, you would have believed him over me. You've believed him over me every time, and the evidence wasn't enough until 3 weeks ago. She held her breath. 3 weeks ago, she said. Yes, he said. I was coming to Lagos to give you everything, the full case, the documentation, the plan to remove him from the company legally and completely. He held her gaze. Then the venue situation happened and I humiliated you, she said. You had reasons, he said. I humiliated you on camera, she said. In front of 300 people. You had reasons, he said again. And the way he said it, not forgiving, not wounded, just factual, was somehow harder to receive than anger would have been. She looked at the window. I got an anonymous message, she said. About the Lagos warehouse. He went still. What did it say? He said. She showed him. He read it. He looked up. Go alone, he said. I wasn't planning to, she said. The Bello warehouse on Lagos Island had been closed since her mother's final hospitalization. Amara had not been inside since she came to collect samples 3 years ago, moving through the space with the specific grief of someone touching things that still held a person's warmth. She came back at noon the next day. Min-Jae was with her. He had not been invited. He had simply been at her hotel door at 8 a.m. with 2 cups of coffee and the expression of someone who had already decided what they were doing today. She had taken the coffee. She had not said thank you. She had not said anything about the fact that he had flown Lagos with her. The warehouse was exactly as she remembered it, bolts of fabric stacked against walls, her mother's handwritten notes still taped to shelving units, the specific smell of aged fabric and cedar that she associated specifically with her mother's hands. She went to the back office. There was a filing cabinet she had never opened because she had assumed it was accounts records, and she had been avoiding accounts records for 3 years. The third drawer, a lockbox. The key was in an envelope taped to the underside of the drawer. She found it because Min-Jae, standing beside her, reached past her and pressed the bottom of the drawer and said, she used to hide things under furniture. She looked at him. You were here before, she said. Once, he said, to bring her something. She opened the lockbox. Inside, a USB drive, a sealed envelope, and a photograph. She picked up the photograph first. Her mother, young, maybe 35. Laughing, sitting across a table from a Korean man who was clearly younger than the Min-Jae she knew but was identifiably him. She had never seen her mother laugh like that in a photograph, unguarded, completely present. The laugh of someone who trusted the person across the table entirely. She turned the photograph over, her mother's handwriting, Seoul, 2015. The only person who asked nothing. She held it for a long time, then she opened the envelope. It was not full pages, just one. Her mother's handwriting, shaky in the way it had become in her last months. Amara, if you found this. It means you found the warehouse and you found the lockbox. Which means Min-Jae brought you here. Which means more time has passed than I would have liked. There is a recording, he has it. I told him not to give it to you until you were ready to hear me. I know you. You are not ready until you are broken enough to stop fighting what you cannot control. I hope you are not too broken. I hope he is still there, the spring collection. The letter ended mid-sentence. She turned the page over, nothing. It's unfinished, she said. She looked at Min-Jae. He was looking at the photograph in her hand. She never told me about this letter, he said. Only the recording. What does the recording say? She said. I haven't listened to it, he said. It was never mine to open. She stared at him. 7 years, she said. 7 years of protecting this company, protecting me, and you never. It was hers, he said. Not mine. She looked at the photograph, her mother's laugh. The only person who asked nothing. She thought, what kind of person protects someone for 7 years and asks nothing? She thought, the kind of person who made a promise. She thought, what did he promise? Her phone rang. Tunned, she declined it. It rang again. She turned it over. We need to go back to Seoul, she said. I need that recording. They were in the car to the airport when the men appeared, 3 vehicles. Moving alongside theirs with the specific, coordinated quality that had nothing to do with traffic. Min-Jae noticed before she did. She knew this because she saw his posture change, the subtle immediate shift of someone recognizing a pattern and making calculations. Stay in the car, he said. What? Stay in the car, Amara. He was already on his phone. 2 sentences in Korean, short, direct. The vehicles moved closer then, as suddenly as they had appeared, they fell back. One by one, she watched them. What just happened? She said. People who work for people who want me to stop what I'm doing, he said. Stop what? She said. Building the case against Tund, he said. The people he works for have more invested in this than he does. He's a front. The real operation goes deeper. You knew this, she said. Yes, he said. How long? He held her gaze. Since your mother told me in 2015, he said. She looked out the window at the Lagos traffic. She thought about 3 years of running her mother's company, feeling like she was fighting ghosts, debt appearing and disappearing, contracts stolen and recovered, lawsuits filed and settled, a company that should have collapsed a dozen times and somehow hadn't. She thought about what that had cost, not money. The man sitting beside her. What did they do to you? She said. In return for protecting me, what did they do to you? He was quiet. Kang Min-Jae, she said. What did it cost you? Some business, he said. Some influence. He paused. Some things I won't discuss. She looked at him. He was looking at the road ahead. She noticed, for the first time, really noticed, with the specific attention she had been refusing to give him since Lagos Fashion Week, the lines of tiredness around his eyes. Not age, something more sustained. The specific exhaustion of a person who had been carrying something heavy for a very long time and had gotten so used to it that they had forgotten to put it down. You got hurt, she said. That's not. Show me, she said. He turned. I'm not. Min-Jae, she held his gaze. Show me. He held still for a moment, then he pulled back his jacket sleeve, a scar, old but visible, along the inside of his forearm, the length of a knife. She looked at it. She said. 2021, he said. The criminal investors who withdrew their claims against your company. The situations became complicated, she said. Yes, he said. She looked at the scar. She thought about what kind of person she had spent 7 years thinking he was: cold, ruthless, calculating. A corporate predator who stripped companies bare. She thought about a scar on a forearm and a recorded message he had never opened because it wasn't his to open. She thought, I've been wrong. She thought, I've been so wrong. And then, because she was stubborn in the way her mother had been stubborn, in the way of women who had survived by being certain, and certainty did not dissolve in an afternoon even when it should, she thought, but why didn't he just tell me? Why all the secrecy? What is he still hiding? The recording, she said. We get the recording, and you tell me everything, all of it, whatever you've been holding back. He said. No more interruptions, she said. No more interruptions, he said. She looked at the road ahead. She thought, finally she was wrong. Seoul. 3 a.m. They had landed 6 hours ago. She had gone to her hotel. He had gone to his office to deal with what his deputy described as a situation that required his physical presence. She had sat in her hotel room and held the USB drive and the photograph and the unfinished letter and thought about everything. At 3 a.m. her phone lit up with an alert from a news service. She followed. Bello Fashion House, bankruptcy filing imminent. Creditors call in final debts. She sat up. She called Tund. This time she didn't let him speak. The spring collection, she said. The registration under your father's company, the creditors who suddenly decided tonight to file. What did you do? Silence. Tund, she said. I've been defending you for years. Every time someone warned me, every time the evidence pointed your direction, I defended you, because my mother trusted you. Because I trusted you. Did you do? She said. I protected you, he said. From him, Kang Min-Jae is. Stop, she said. He's using you, Tund said, and his voice had changed entirely now, the warmth gone, replaced by something flat and honest that was somehow more frightening than his performance. He controlled your mother. He controlled the company. Every move he made was about keeping you weak enough to need him. Paid debts you created, she said. Silence. Tund, she said. Creditors calling in tonight. That's you, forcing me back to Lagos, away from him, away from the recording. Recording is manipulated, he said. Whatever she told him to say on it. She recorded it herself, Amara said, before she died without him. A longer silence. Come home, he said. No, she said. She ended the call. She called Min-Jae. He answered on the first ring. Company, she said. Creditors, tonight. I know, he said. I'm handling it. You're handling it, she said. By morning it will be. Stop, she said. Don't handle it. Don't quietly pay something. Don't make it disappear. Do you understand me? I need this out in the open. I need Tund exposed, and I need it documented, and I need to do it myself. A pause. If you do it publicly they'll move faster, he said. Good, she said. Let them move. I want them moving so everyone can see where they're moving from. A longer pause. Amara, he said. This will get messy. People will say things about you, about your company, about Min-Jae, she said. Yes, he said. Give me the recording, she said. Now, tonight. Silence, please, she said. And the word cost her something. She heard it in her own voice, the specific, rare quality of a stubborn woman choosing to ask instead of demand. She heard him breathe. Come to the office, he said. His office was quiet. He was behind his desk when she arrived. The USB, a different one, smaller in a sealed case, was on the desk in front of him. She sat down. She looked at it. Before I give it to you, he said. Min-Jae, before, he said. There's something I've been protecting you from that you need to hear from me first. Not from the recording, from me. She held still. Your mother's illness, he said. The acceleration you mentioned to Mrs. Ademi. She looked at him. Tund's family, he said. The investors he represents. They were connected to the Korean group from 2015. The same people your mother extracted herself from. When she started documenting the conspiracy, when she started building the case, they accelerated the timeline. They killed her, she said. There is no proof, he said. Every investigator I've hired has come back with the same answer. The evidence has been removed, she said. Yes, he said. She held the arms of the chair. Known this, she said. For how long? Since 2021, he said. When the criminal investor situation, 2021, she said. 2 years after she died, you've known for 4 years that the people who killed my mother are the same people destroying my company, and you said nothing. I was building the case, he said. You said that about Tund, she said. Building the case while I trusted him, while I gave him access to every. She stopped. How much did he take, actually? How much, Min-Jae? He was quiet. Tell me, she said. Design collection, he said. 3 years of investor sabotage. The Abuja lawsuit was partially manufactured, real complaint, inflated damages by a claimant connected to his network. He held her gaze. Approximately 400 million naira in total damage over 3 years. She looked at the ceiling. 400 million naira, 3 years, her mother's company. And you kept paying, she said, quietly, without telling me what you were paying for, without telling me who was doing it. She looked at him. Do you understand that every time you paid something secretly, you took away my ability to fight? You took away my ability to know who my enemies were. You made me dependent on a protection I didn't know I had from a person I didn't know I could trust. He held her gaze. He did not argue. Yes, he said. You were wrong, she said. Yes, he said. Even if you were right about the protection. I was wrong about how, he said. I know. She looked at the USB on the desk. She reached forward. She picked it up. He let her. The recording was 11 minutes long. She listened to it in his office while he sat across from her, not watching her face, looking at the Seoul skyline with the patient stillness of a man who had been waiting for this moment for 4 years and was now finally on the other side of it. Her mother's voice was different from how she remembered it, not weaker, more present. The specific quality of a person who had decided to say the most important things with the most possible precision. Amara, if you're listening to this, it means Min-Jae kept his promise. I asked him to hold this until you were ready, and he is the only person I trust to judge that correctly. I need to tell you the truth about why I warned you away from him, not because he is dangerous to you, because I knew the way mothers know that you would love him. Exactly the way he is. A man who protects without asking for recognition, who sacrifices without announcing it, who loves in the only way he knows how, silently and completely. And I knew that the life he moves in would put you in danger, not because of who he is, because of who your enemies are. As long as you needed his protection, staying away from him was the only way to keep you safe, but I also knew something else. I knew that if the protection was working, if you were still alive and your company was still standing, it was because of him. Not despite him. I am asking you to see that. I am asking you to let yourself see it. He will not tell you what he sacrificed. He will not tell you what it cost. He will not ask you to be grateful. That is who he is, and it is also his greatest flaw. So I am telling you, Amara, the man who stayed when everyone else left deserves to be seen. See him. I love you. I have always loved you. Take care of your company, and take care of each other. The recording ended. She held the USB. She held the USB for a long time. She was not crying. She was doing the thing she had done twice in her life before, sitting completely still while the landscape of everything she understood rearranged itself into a new shape. She thought about 7 years of hatting the wrong person. She thought about every humiliation, every accusation. Every time she had looked at him with contempt and he had received it without flinching. She thought about the scar on his forearm. She thought, he stayed when everyone else left. She thought, I have to find him. She looked up. His chair was empty. She stood. She went to the door, the corridor, the elevator. She found him in the lobby, jacket on, moving toward the exit with the specific, tired quality of a man who had fulfilled every obligation and was now allowing himself to leave. Min-Jae, she said. Stopped. He turned. She crossed the lobby. She stopped in front of him. She looked at him, really looked, with the specific, unguarded attention she had been withholding for 7 years. She saw it now, the exhaustion, the held grief. The man who had sat across from her mother in Seoul in 2015 and laughed, the man in the photograph, still somewhere inside the controlled exterior, quieter now, older, carrying something he had never been permitted to put down. You were going to leave, she said. I thought you'd need time, he said. You survived this life all these years and you cannot stay in a lobby, she said. Something moved in his face. You survived, he said. That's enough for me. It's not enough for me, she said. He looked at her. Min-Jae, she said, I have been terrible to you. You had reasons, he said. Stop saying that, she said. You did, he said. Everything you knew. I know what I knew, she said. I also know what I missed. What I refused to see because it was easier to hate you than to trust you. She held his gaze. I am not my mother. I don't say things gently, so I'm going to say this directly. He waited. You kept a promise to a dying woman for 7 years, she said. At cost to yourself, without recognition, without asking for anything back. She held his gaze. I spent 7 years giving you contempt and you spent 7 years giving me protection. That is not a debt. That is something I don't have a word for except. She stopped. She reached forward, she took his hand, which had been carrying things alone for 7 years, she held it. Leave, she said. He looked at their hands, he looked at her. For the first time fully, without management, without the controlled surface that had sat over everything for as long as she had known him, Kang Min-Jae let his face say the thing it actually meant. Relief. The specific, profound relief of a person who has been holding something for a very long time and has just been told, I have this now, you can let go. Company, he said, we'll fix it, she said. Handle him, she said, tomorrow together with everything documented and in the open. Mother, I know, she said, I know. She held his hand, he held hers, she held his hand, he held hers. They stood in the lobby of a Seoul office building at 4 a.m, while the city moved outside in its vast, indifferent way, and between them. After 7 years of silence and sacrifice and misdirected hatred and invisible protection, something that had been held at impossible tension finally, completely exhaled. Not new, found. The thing that had been there since a woman in a Lagos hospital said promise me to the only person she trusted absolutely. Finally, where she had always intended it to be. 1 week later, the Tunda Decoya case became public on a Tuesday. Amara gave the press conference herself, not through a lawyer, not through a PR firm, but standing in front of cameras in Lagos with a folder of documentation that Min-Jae's investigators had spent 6 months assembling and that she had spent 1 week verifying herself, because she had decided that if she was going to burn it down, she was going to burn it down with her own hands. She laid out everything, the design registrations, the manufactured creditor claims, the investor network with its Korean roots and its Nigerian front men, the connection to the accelerated illness of her mother, not murder, not provable but suspicious, documented and named out loud for the first time. The fashion industry was watching. Lagos was watching. The investors her mother had feared in Seoul were watching. Min-Jae sat in the back of the room. He was not on the stage. He was not introduced. He was not mentioned by name. This was her story and her company and her mother, and she was the one standing in front of cameras. He was there because she had asked him to be. He sat in the back row and watched the woman he had protected for 7 years dismantle the thing that had threatened her. And for the first time in those 7 years, he felt something that was not responsibility or obligation or the weight of a promise. He felt proud, not of himself, of her. Afterward, in the corridor, she found him. She did not say anything for a moment. Then, how did I do? You were terrifying, he said. She almost smiled. Good, she said. He looked at her. Company, he said. Company will recover, she said. The spring collection is still mine. The documentation is clear. The IP registration will be overturned within 60 days. After, he said. She held his gaze. After, she said, I was thinking about the Asian market, the expansion my mother tried to open in 2015. Tilted her head. I might need someone who knows Seoul. He held her gaze. I know 1 or 2 people, he said. I know, she said. I was thinking of one specifically. She held out her hand, not the way she had in the lobby, a different gesture. A beginning rather than a rescue, an invitation, not a rescue. He took it. She looked at their hands. She thought about her mother in a Seoul cafe in 2015, laughing across a table at a man who asked nothing. She thought she saw it coming. She thought she knew. She thought, I'm going to have so many things to tell her. Min-Jae said, what are you thinking? She looked up. That my mother, she said, was almost always right. He held that. Almost, he said. She thought I needed 7 years, she said. I think 4 would have been enough. Something happened in his face that was entirely, unreservedly, the laugh of a man who hadn't done it in a long time and had just been given a reason. She had not heard him laugh before. It was, she thought, one of the best things she had ever heard. She held his hand. They walked out into the Lagos afternoon together, into the noise and the heat and the city that had been her mother's city and was now hers, carrying everything it always had and somehow feeling for the first time in 3 years like it might be enough. Like she might be enough. Like the thing she had been fighting for, not the company, not the legacy, but the life her mother had wanted her to have, was finally actually beginning. 7 years, 10 chapters, 1 lobby, 1 laugh. If you made it all the way here, if you felt every almost and every twist and that final release, you already know this story did exactly what it promised. Like this video right now, subscribe immediately. Drop a comment which almost broke you the most. I want to know. New story next week. Same promise, impossible to stop. I'll see you there.